ignored, and the truth hasn't been brought out, and I think that would be my answer.
Okay, thank you.
For me, I'll speak about my experience as a child growing up here and taking part in Old Spanish Days. It was very important to me because it really did, at that point, shape my identity as, what I can now say, a California who believed that we were Spanish people. And it was very romantic, especially living near to Hollywood. I mean, that was like a double whammy, right? You take this all in and you feel very glamorous, even to the point of, I'm a trained singer and was singing when I was young too, and sang on the steps of the courthouse, dressed in Spanish regalia with a big, mantilla and the whole thing. And even when I got married at the old mission, I had the same thing, big mantilla, because that was part of my identity. But over time, when I realized that the Spanish, so-called, had really been very cruel to and unjust to and had no rights to take the land of the Chumash people here, then I had to deal with that part of my identity and understand what it meant to be a Chumash person, and that has been the work of my adulthood.
Okay, thank you. Thinking about what we've seen on the clips and what you've talked about, what changes would you like to see for this event of the Old Spanish Days? We could start with you, Roberta.
I think that it would be really helpful for the true history to come out, and the Chumash people actually be honored. Even bring back the Chumash festival, and it not be concentrated on the Spanish Days, but more of what really was happening a long time ago here. Maybe having the city even sponsor a Chumash festival, something that would benefit Chumash scholarship fund, something that we could put together besides like the Santa Barbara Natural History Museum, for us to be able to present our history and our culture.
And I'd like to build on that because I think that's really important. I think that the truth needs to come out in its fullness. There needs to be a lot of education, and I think that if part of that education is helping the current indigenous people, the contemporary indigenous people, that we can also share those values that are so important to the earth and to being good citizens of the earth and to being good community to one another, because we've lost so much of that in post-colonial times and colonial times. So I think the truth needs to come out in all its glory.
Yeah.
And lack of.
Okay. I agree with you on that. I would definitely, if not get rid of the whole Fiesta thing, which I know wouldn't happen, I would definitely like to see more information given about the truth that did happen. People parade around, Viva la Fiesta. And it's like, do you even really know what that means? Do you even know what you're celebrating? You're celebrating the Spaniards coming to Santa Barbara, and no one sits and thinks about what happened when the Spaniards came to Santa Barbara. What happened to my ancestors? I would like more information given. Even on the mission website, nothing is provided. It's all very sugar-coated.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And even when we did our piece in doing some research about the mission, it was very apparent how stifled the truth is in popular media. Just to be able to go to the library, there are no books that give you the information about the death tolls and stuff of what happened to the mission. So not anything that's easily accessible locally.
No, it isn't.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things I notice is that the lack of accurate information about what has happened in Santa Barbara and how it's not disseminated during Fiesta or at any time, really.
Right. And at this point, it's a festival sponsored by Budweiser,
Yeah.
Definitely.
So, just thinking about it, what images seen during Fiesta disturb you the most, if you think about it?
Well, I haven't actually taken an active part in Fiesta for a very long time, but one image that is indelible in my memory from my childhood and seeing the big Fiesta parade is this depiction of the mission and these friars supposedly, and then these white people who were covered with this grease paint that was supposed to be Indian red, I suppose, and these yarn black wigs, you know, walking down the street together. It's like, what a cartoon. You know, what a horrible thing to take with you all your life.
The image that I see in my head, I've never actually participated in the Fiesta celebration. I'm only 22. But when I have, you know, heard stories or seen, even, you know, going to Santa Barbara to see family, there's always that one drunk person wearing a sombrero, screaming, "Viva la Fiesta," with a beer in one hand. I mean, are you kidding me? I don't want to see that. A sombrero, that's, if I'm correct, that's Mexican, isn't that? I mean, you see, there's no actual, excuse me, but it's a lot more Mexican. There's really no Spanish except for the dancing. You have booths that sell food, but it's all Mexican food. If they're really going to celebrate Spanish culture, Spanish heritage, there should be more Spanish involved.
Roberta, would you like to respond to that?
I'd have to agree once again. Yeah, I mean it's not even depicting what they're claiming it to be as being old Spanish days. And again too, we have the people dressing up as Chumash going down State Street in the parade with their wigs on and their chamois regalia, and that brings up, same thing like the mascots. It's a mimicking of what our culture is. That's very inaccurate.
It's very disrespectful as well.
Yeah, and when we did have Native people, even Chumash people participate in the parade, a few years ago they were very disrespected. We even had a group of horses try to run some of the Native people down in the parade. So another disturbing thing coming out of the Fiesta celebration.
I think a celebration that does have all the Mexican dancing and so on would be really welcome here,
So we have had Chumash people participate in the parade and in the celebration.
Yes.
And that is okay with everybody?
I was actually an active participant a couple years ago. I was one of the dancers that was at the mission. And there was a lot of controversy with that. And my response to that was, my ancestors died there trying to preserve their culture. I was up there honoring them. You were able to pass down this much, and I'm still up here representing you.
Okay, well, we're at the end of our time, so just want to say that's our program for tonight, or for this time. And please join us again soon.